Hello and welcome. This is Leon Street, live and direct. And in this video, I'm going to be taking you through a very simple but effective training, especially if you're a coach or consultant. And it's how to generate 2 perfect fit coaching clients per week in November, even if you've hit the 20K a month ceiling. Now, what I'm going to do is take you through the key steps of what you need to consider in terms of the skills and the execution, i.e., what actions you need to take. And so, if you've got a pen or a pad, that'll be handy. Otherwise, just remember this is recording, so you can go back to this and get your notepad out and come back to it later on to get your notes. What I do want to say is if you're watching this on any platform right now, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, make sure to follow the profile or subscribe to the channel. But let's get into this. And so I've got some practical steps that I want to share with you on basically how to execute what I'm talking about in this video to attract the client. So what I'm going to do is just share briefly with you what we're going to cover in this video. So we're going to look at, in particular, what you need to consider around your messages. And when I say messages, I mean the kind of marketing message that you put together, the kind of message you put out in your campaigns, your offers. Want to look at the tactics, so what you can do to execute on that, the kind of things you need to put out. And then finally, systems. How can you remove yourself from each part of this so that you can plug your team in? Because after all, whilst you may be a coach, at the end of the day, you're a business owner. And as a business owner is not meant to take on all the responsibilities and jobs within that business, right? So we need to look at what systems are running. And I'm going to take you through a very simple way to look at generating leads. And this is traffic, call to actions, qualifying, and entering into a sale with obviously your prospect becoming a client. So those are the things we're going to talk about in a moment, and we're going to get into each of those areas. Before I move forward, I just want to let you guys know I do have a brand new live training coming up, and do make sure you check out the training. It's called my More Leads Challenge training, and it takes place on the 31st of October until the 4th of November. And it is www.moreleads.live to get the full information and the tickets. And so I do want to make sure you do check that out, guys. So before we move forward, what I want to focus on in particular is the stuff that I'm going to be talking about here is going to be really important on how you execute and move forward with generating your 2 clients per week, which is basically what this is talking about. So I'm going to kick off with this statistic. And actually, I've got my little cat down there. She's meowing. Let me just let her out. I thought you were going to stay with me. There you go. So I thought she was going to stay for the live stream, but anyway, we're going to continue forward. So looking at this, we've got this statistic here, and I want to share this statistic because I share it quite a lot, and it's really to hit home with a particular point that I want to raise with you, is that there was this survey done by FactWorks, and what they found is attracting customers was the most important challenge that small businesses are facing. And so when you look at that, the whole point of what I want to get into here is the survey shows that it's attracting customers. And if you pick up the gist of what that means, it's lead generation. And this is where most people go wrong in terms of growing their business. It is a difficult challenge. And I don't know about you right now, but most of the problems with any business are around what happens on top of funnel or front end, meaning traffic and lead generation. And you hear it all the time, if I could generate enough leads or enough prospects, my business would grow. You never hear really people complaining when they're generating enough leads and enough prospects on the front end, meaning they've got enough traffic, coming into their funnels or into their business, into their marketing. Like, that's never the issue, because you can always fix it by clients, by generating the cash from those clients, and obviously plugging in teams, systems, and all those things. But the biggest stumbling block, and especially for a lot of coaches who are at that 20K per month ceiling, meaning they can't get beyond it, it's attracting customers. And all I want to do is take you through the key things that you can consider. Now, I've got some resources that I'm going to share with you in a moment, but I want to talk about skills. And each one of these things that I'm about to reveal to you, they are a resource that you can get. Where can you get them? You can get them from me. So if you want the resources that I'm about to share with you as I take you through, just comment resources below this video, and I'll make sure you get a copy of the PDFs that I'm about to share with you. And the PDFs, they're a mix of worksheets and different things I'm going to take you through. Plus, they come with walkthrough videos explaining how to use them to your advantage in your coaching or consulting business to get some amazing results. And I've got some results that I'll show you a bit later. So you guys know I'm not just talking about theory, and I'm actually talking about well executed, implementable, is that even a word? Things that you can implement in order to generate the kind of results you're looking for in terms of leads, turning those leads into prospects and then clients. So one of the skills you're going to need to understand, and you probably come across it if you're at this 20K a month ceiling or anything below that, is you need to have a way or an idea, a strategy of producing content that gets people attention. And when I say people, I mean your niche, your target audience. And one of the things that I created, it's a method that I give to my clients, and it's a method that we go into much more depth, but I have a worksheet and it's called the 6-week content rhythm. The 6-week content rhythm. And it's a method that I put together whereby you cycle through 6 weeks of specifically, specially crafted content. Meaning, so each week you focus on a specific belief that you need to change within your niche. And when you help them to change that belief, they start to look at you. And what that simply means is that you'll end up with a bunch of leads and people wanting to find out more about what it is you do, or even perhaps people who just want to work with you. And it's really cool because basically what it gives you is a content planner, but not your general content planners that you see all online. Get your 365-day content planner ideas, blah, blah, blah. This is specific because it works on psychology. We're changing beliefs. And if you know anything about marketing, guys, if you want your marketing to be effective, it's all about how you change beliefs in the message and how you change the beliefs of your niche. The more you understand that, the more you'll use empathy, and the more you use empathy, the more you'll start to understand about psychology, and you'll understand actually what you're really trying to execute when it comes to marketing, which is persuasion. So the next thing that you need in your skill set, so let me just skip forward, is you need to understand how to generate clients from a community. So whilst you're putting your content together, you need to know how to build a community, meaning an audience. And you get people who are doing that on Facebook, in Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, and you get people who are doing it on places like TikTok and YouTube, Instagram, because they're building an audience of loyal followers. And the cool thing is, if you're using the 6-week content rhythm, you're not just going to generate followers, you're going to generate the people who you're targeting in your niche. And for a lot of you, you know how important that is, because you don't want, time wasters, tire kickers, people who are requesting things. And actually, once you start to qualify, you know that they'll just never be a perfect fit for you. So the important thing is, what you've got to understand is how to build that community, build that audience. And one of the cheat sheets that I have, and it's another method that I have, is called Weekly Group Clients Method. So if you want to understand how to get clients out of those audiences like Facebook groups or LinkedIn, and I'm talking about building your own groups, your own communities, where you've got literally a pool of people who will eventually work with you, like this is key. So you go from content to building an audience. The next thing you're going to need to understand is, how do you qualify people? In this day and age, you don't just pick up the phone and just cold call people. If you do it right, your content should attract the people that you're building in your audience, and you should be able to speak to people in your DMs with integrity and permission based. So if you do this right, you execute by giving value first, you build the audience, and then you start speaking to people in a way that they actually want to participate in the conversation with you, and they're willing to answer questions, because it doesn't feel salesy, it doesn't feel pushy. And so the key here is, and if you've never come across this, guys, and if you've only ever spoke to people in your DMs randomly, or you try and just come up with an ad hoc message, it will never work. What you want is a predictable way. And I have this in this worksheet called the Confirm by Chat worksheet. Now, what do you need next? So let me give you the 4th step. Do you guys ever offer like a free strategy call or a free coaching call? It's kind of like where you give a little bit, but you don't give too much, but you give enough so a person knows that actually you have even more value to give. This is a kind of bonus one. And so what I have is something I call the reverse strategy call method. So if you do strategy calls before you move into like a sales call, or you use a strategy call to qualify people, then what you need is my reverse strategy call method. And again, I've got another worksheet, and it takes you through the exact steps and the exact scripts, just like my DM script, Confirmed by Chat. I give you a script on how to structure those calls so that you can give value without giving too much away, where the person gets to the end of the call and they're like, thank you very much, I'll go away. I don't think I need any more help right now, meaning that you face objections. But when you do it the right way, you get people who are like, I really want to know about the next thing. Now, isn't that the perfect place to be with the perfect prospect? Yes. And so that's what I've something that I've built up. And all of these things, these are things that I put into practice for myself and my clients. The next thing you're going to need is when a person wants to find out about the next step, meaning, at some point you're going to present your offer, you're going to need to do a sales call where you qualify people properly, not just giving them value on a strategy call, but you move them to a qualifier call. Some people call it a triage call. And if you don't have a script for that, then again, I've got you covered in my super qualifier sales script worksheet. And then the final thing is, and these are all the skills that you need to have if you want to create, a business, a coaching business that is generating 2 clients a week, and you're going past that 20K a month ceiling. The final thing is how to create no-brainer irresistible offers, something that I call NBI offers. And so these are like the core skills that if you execute these as a coach or consultant, you literally can print money, right? I don't mean you've got an ATM, but you have a predictable system that will take a person from seeing your content to being in your audience to wanting to speak to you willfully in your DMs, to the point where they want to jump on either a strategy call to get some extra value or a qualifier call because you're in a position where they do want to find out more about working with you, to the point where you present your offer and they're ready to buy. And when I say offers, usually offers that you'll price anything from $5,000 to like $50,000, depending on the kind of offer you put together and the kind of service that you put out. Now, those are the skills you need. Now, here's the really cool thing, guys. Each one of these is a worksheet. Each one of these is either a worksheet or a cheat sheet or something of value you guys can get free. If you'd like a copy of any of these, one of these sounds really cool to you, just comment below this video with the word resource. So let me step forward and move on to the next part that I want to share with you. So how do you put all of this together? Yeah. How do you execute on this? Well, as I said, I want to talk to you specifically about attracting clients, in particular 2 clients a week. So the thing is, a lot of the times when you're executing with your content, not a lot of people set up their profiles in the right way, meaning either the content that they put out, whether they're putting videos out on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, or Instagram videos, or content out on Facebook or LinkedIn, is that their profiles aren't set up and positioned in the right way, meaning it doesn't say clearly what your promise is, who you help, and what kind of results people can expect from you. In the bios that you have on these different profiles, the ones that you can have more, and I'll talk in a moment for like places like LinkedIn, if you're more of a B2B niche and you're targeting business to business niche. A lot of people, I find that they talk about themselves. It's kind of we, and I've got this much experience, and they don't use you or in a way that the audience, when they're reading it, it pulls them into the story, into the words. And this is something that's really powerful. See, whether it's your profile and how you're positioned, or whether it's your message that you put out, what you've got to do is set a scene. You should be creating scenes with your word. People who read your content, i.e. your perfect fit, audience, your niche, they should be reading your content and they should be seeing themselves in the words. They should be seeing themselves in the videos and the content that you put out. And this is something that I see a lot of coaches making the mistake of not doing. The next thing is, once you're set up, you've got to understand where your niche hang out. Now, let's say you are a cultural consultant. Perhaps your audience might be on various platforms. You might be repurposing content from Facebook to LinkedIn to TikTok to Instagram, wherever, right? Now, the important thing that I just want to share with you is that in order to generate overflowing lead sources, you've got to understand what is the primary channel where your niche hang out. Yeah. So is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Is it YouTube? Yeah. And the biggest thing for me is what I would say is look at where your niche are hanging out in communities already, because it will give you like clues that speed up your understanding. Because if you're building an audience from scratch, let's say like a new TikTok profile or a YouTube channel, those things take time. Some of them can accelerate if your content just hits home and it just hits, the algorithm, meaning that people engage, and therefore those platforms push your content further. But what you don't want is to kind of wait to go viral, so to speak. What you want to do is put out content to attract the right people in. So the best place for you to start is to look where your audience are already hanging out. Now, one of the cool places that I talk about quite regularly is that there are a lot of people who hang out in groups on Facebook and LinkedIn, and they're a great place for you to start. There's a lot of competitors, let's say, in your niche as well, where their followers, i.e. the kind of people you want to target your niche, are already following. So for me, what I would suggest is that if you're targeting places like TikTok, Instagram, What you've got to do is show up. You've got to follow those other people who are, let's say, your competitors, and you've got to start to understand what kind of messages are they putting out, what kind of hashtags are they using. And this is part of your market research, but this is what can help to generate more sources of traffic. Obviously, then you can also look at, so that's more the organic side, but then you can look at things like paid advertising. One of the great things that you can do if you really want to generate an overflowing lead source is make sure to give away, when you run paid advertising, some type of lead magnet and drive people into your community. Yeah. So give them a lead magnet, present perhaps like a Facebook group, a place where you have more control, not full control, but more control. There's a lot of also paid platforms out there right now. I know there's a platform called School, and I think there's another one I've seen called Circle or something like that, where these are independent of places like Facebook and so on. And the reason why people do use those things, and I think like Slack channels, as well as Telegram, is to get rid of the distractions of places like Facebook. But what I can say to you is, if you don't want to add any other costs in right now, Facebook communities are a great place you start. I see a lot of people who, for instance, are really big on TikTok, they're really big on LinkedIn, and you'll find that most of their free communities are on Facebook. And there's a reason for that. It's easy to use, it's very interactive, and it's easy for you to kind of position the way that people join those groups and for you to collect data, lead sources as they join. So I hope this is making sense, guys. If there's any questions you've got as I'm going through these things, guys, just drop a question in a comment below the video, wherever you're seeing this. And remember, I did mention some free resources a moment ago, 6 resources. If you would like a copy of any of those, just comment resources below this video. I'll come back to your comment and make sure that I'll send you the link. So moving forward, what's step number 3? Once you've identified, obviously, where to get leads, the next thing is hot qualified leads. It's down to your message. Now, you guys, if you were watching a moment ago, you remember that I mentioned the 6-week content rhythm, and it's a really powerful content strategy. It's so simple. I just love it because it allows you to keep putting out the same content, but you improve the content, you get better, and you replace the things that aren't working and you improve the things that are working. Yeah. What a lot of people are always looking for is like, what's the bright, shiny object? What's the new thing? And the reality is that if you're targeting pretty much the same niche and you haven't diversified too much, like every 90 days, you should be checking, is that the same niche? Are you attracting the right kind of people? Is the message right? You should be adjusting it every 90 days, right? It should be a continual improvement, both in the niche, knowing who they are, what will trigger them to buy, meaning the psychographics, and also getting very clear on the demographics. But over time, you should also be perfecting that message, going back to the 6-week content rhythm. So if you want to generate hot qualified leads, you've got to start putting more offers out there. And offers start with things like giving a free lead magnet away. That's an offer. It's a free offer, right? Meaning that a person will get some value, whether it's something like this, like a book or a guide or a worksheet, kind of the things that I mentioned, in exchange for a name and email. Yeah, it could even be that you give those things away, but you do it in DMs. So rather than give you name and email, you're speaking to them directly in their DMs. Yeah, which is even less kind of riskier than giving you a name and email. And then you can move on to other offers. The whole point is you need to create offers to get people to raise their hand. You need to give something or present something so people inquire, whether you've got a webinar that you're going to run, whether you're going to put on something like a VIP day, whether you're simply offering or constructing and put an offer together for your coaching program. Now, the best way to attract hot qualified leads is to wrap a story around your messaging. Quite often you can just straight up offer lead magnet, because usually you're going to present the lead magnet with some type of benefit. The benefits are going to be, this lead magnet will show you, for instance, like if I use my book, More Leads, More Clients, this will show you how to position yourself as one of the most highly qualified coaches in your industry. Yeah, highly qualified, so it will help you to be positioned in that particular way. Perhaps your lead magnets have got some potential benefit that you can market it on, and that's the key thing. Whereas if you just push products and push offers all the time, what will happen is these overflowing lead sources that you've built up will become kind of immune to the offer, because it will just feel like you're always trying to sell. And the most effective way to sell is actually to tell stories. And that's why you'll find a lot of video content these days is it's much more accessible and easy for people to follow, because quite often, if the person has good delivery, has good energy, there's even the story of, as I'm watching you, or you're watching videos, or your niche are watching your videos, they like your energy, they like who you are, how you look, how you present yourself, those types of things. That's all part of the story. But also, I just want to say the most important factor is obviously the words you use. And again, I'm going to come back to what I was talking about earlier around positioning. The more you can create scenes, the more you can create the empathy of what your niche is seeing, hearing, feeling, and going through, the more people will believe in what your message is, because they'll see themselves in the words and how you speak and what you present. And that's critical. The more empathy you have, the more people are going to connect with you. So moving on to step 4 then. Now that you've got hot qualified leads, you need an amazing offer. Now, most of you have heard of, you need to create an irresistible offer. I have a method called the no-brainer irresistible offer, because it should just be a no-brainer. I mean, it's already a done thing. Like, I need that thing yesterday. And when you present your offer, you'll know you're onto the right track, because people are buying the thing that you're presenting. So for me, if you've positioned yourself right, you've got lead sources, you're generating hot qualified leads, you don't want to let yourself down, or you don't want to undersell yourself, which is something that I often see with coaches who are under the 20K a month mark, that basically they don't know their own worth. They kind of do, but it's also risky, meaning that the confidence isn't as high for them to charge more. Now, I've had clients who literally charge like 50 and 100,000 for their coaching programs, right? And it's kind of, well, who gives them the right to charge that? Well, they put a no-brainer irresistible offer where the value of what they charged was 10 times more than the price that they actually put it out for the offer. So if they charged 50,000 or 100,000, the value was basically $1 million. And for some of you who are not obviously charging those high prices, it might feel a bit weird to be like saying, wow, could the value of that be really so high? The reality is yes. If your results can show that and you can prove that based on the things that you've done, usually that's where you can represent value. When you're kind of at that stage where you're building your coaching business, perhaps you're on between the 2 to 5 year period in your coaching business. You've been doing it for some time, maybe even a bit longer, but you kind of got stuck, like I said, at that 20K a month ceiling. Then what you really need to do, and I really recommend this because I work with a lot of coaches, and one of the things that I even see, with the really experienced in the trenches coaches, there's a point where when you can't break through that glass ceiling, your confidence takes a knock and you get used to just keeping your prices at a certain level. But if you're getting results, the one thing I would say to you is that you should really explore upping your prices. Now, if you haven't got coaching services or prices right now that are starting at that $5,000 or pound mark, then you really need to consider adjusting your prices. I speak to some really experienced people. I speak to people who've worked for Microsoft, like high up directors. I speak to people who are in the AI consulting industries, business coaches, life coaches, right across the board. And when I speak to them, they're like, yeah, I charge like $300 an hour. And they think that's a lot. And then, as I speak to them and I'm like, so tell me the value of the kind of projects you're working on and the value that you bring to those projects and how much that means to the outcomes of these projects. And when they start telling me, they're talking millions. And I'm like, and you charge $300 an hour. And so I'll just say this again. When it comes to your offers, you need to get very clear on what it takes to create a no-brainer, irresistible offer. And you shouldn't just be charging just because you've just come up with, a high ticket price, let's say. You've really got to be able to demonstrate value. And one of the ways is you've got to have a clear promise. You've got to have clear benefits. Perhaps you've got a guarantee, and also social proof. What have you done before for yourself and, importantly, for others? Because that will help people to see your offer as a no-brainer, irresistible offer. So final step, guys, sliding into sales. So this is the final thing. If you want to get 2 clients a week, it's very simple. You need to know how to sell. And selling, whether you love the word or hate the word, I come across it quite often. For me, if you run a business, sales, it goes with business, right? You're not marketing and then all of a sudden you skip a step, i.e. sales, and somebody becomes a client and you're able to deliver your amazing services. You've got to be good at sales. And one of the best ways for you to get good at sales is to have a script that is repeatable, that allows you to build up confidence to the point where you don't have to depend on the script, but you've built your foundations. And if you're at that 20K a month mark, you probably have a good enough script, usually probably about 70, 80% good enough. But if you want to take things to that next level, you've got to understand the things that are crucial to get a person to make a decision with you. Yeah. And quite often people get kind of fearful because they feel like, well, if I get a person to make a decision, I might be pushing too hard. And generally, if you're in that position, it's probably because you're not generating enough leads to have built up your confidence, perhaps your team's confidence, if you have another person selling with you as well, like a high ticket closer or something like that. And like that's part of the problem. Yeah, meaning that you're not generating enough leads on the top end, on the front end, overflowing lead sources. And this is part of the issue that you're having with why you're not progressing much further. Having the sales script, and I use something called the Super Qualifier sales script. It should be a script that puts you at ease with speaking about the pains that your niche are going through, or your prospects going through, that you're speaking to. You should be able to dig into their financial position, because you've got to know who you're dealing with, not because you're being nosy and you're like digging unnecessarily. It's because you've got to understand who you're speaking to, who's in front of you. And if you're a coach or a consultant who's looking to break through that 20K a month mark, these are the 5 key areas you've got to have in place. Less is more. Yeah, it isn't about complexity funnels. It isn't about, like traffic sources coming out your ears. You've got to go all in on one, perhaps maybe 2 channels, right? And as you're doing this, as the results come in, that's where you start to scale things out. That's where you start to plug in your team, where you've got appointment setters, where you've got sales closers, where you've got a system, a repeatable system that you can say, here's the script for this, here's the process for this. And you're giving this to your team, who are taking away those $10 an hour tasks, the $100 an hour tasks. And before you know it, what you're doing is buying back your time. So you, as the business owner, whether you're a coach or consultant, you're able to focus on the $1,000 and the $10,000 an hour tasks that are going to help you to scale your business up. Because if you don't have time, how do you think you're going to get past that 20K a month mark? And this is, a big problem that I see with a lot of coaches, don't have enough hours in the day and they're capped out. So some of the things that I've shared with you today, like here's examples of some of my clients. Here's Denise. She generated £10,000, $14,000. This was in a 7-day period using the methods that I've shared with you today. Here's Haroon. He was able to generate £10,000. This was $13,000 in 1 day. Thank you for your bloody amazing support. Yeah, so he's one of our coaching clients. This is Dr. Ashish Paul, natural fertility consultant. She generated £15,300 in 1 month using the same methods that I'm talking about. Here's another client. So this is Kathy. $15,000, and that was in 7 days. And as she said here, yes, all I did was go back to what worked, which is what you advised me on. Here's another client. This was Sarah. She generated $10,000 cash collected. That was her biggest sale ever in her business, and she'd been selling. She was an experienced coach and consultant. And again, using the methods that I'm sharing with you today, guys. So, when I said to you the things that, I shared with you in the resources, if you want any of the resources that I mentioned, remember, you can get those. All of this, if you want to get access and be kind of taken by the hand, so to speak, where you look over my shoulder and be led on each of these steps, I'm delivering this live in a training coming up. It's called the More Leads Challenge. It's taking place on the 31st of October until the 4th of November. If you want to get yourself a ticket, which I'm sure if you've seen these results, it would make sense to get a ticket for this event. We've got 2 tickets. We've got a general ticket and a VIP ticket. Just go to www.moreleads.live to get yourself a ticket. And look, if you're a coach and you want to go to that next level, I fully recommend that you get on this training. If you like the look of the results you've seen already, here's a few more. So I'll just load them all up on screen. £28,000 in 1 month. That's Dwayne. This was Matt. He went from 3K sale to doing £100,000 in 4 months. Here's Raf, £116,000 in 2.5 months, using all the same methods and steps that I've taken you through today. Here's another client, Nate Lindquist, $768,000 in 3 months and 1 week. He actually turned that into $1.47 million in 6 months. This was after 3 months and 1 week. Another client, £753,000 with 1 offer. Yeah, amazing results. It's actually gone way beyond that since. And again, if you want to lock into that, I'm just going to go back and jump back to the the challenge that's coming up. If you want to get access to the training and understanding of how to put this all together, I'm just going to mention this again. You need to be part of this challenge, guys. It's called the More Leads Challenge. It's taking place 31st of October until the 4th of November. We'll be showing you power positioning secrets on day 1. On day 2, we're going to show you overflowing traffic sources. On day 3, we're going to show you all about getting leads from your content, meaning call to actions, hand raising posts. On day 4, we're going to take you through the no-brainer irresistible offer, so you can create a $5 to $25 or even perhaps $100,000 offer. And then on day 5, we're going to give you the DM script of how you and your team can qualify prospects in your DMs without being pushy or salesy. It's something I use. It's something my clients use. And it works time and time again because it acts as a real flowing conversation rather than something or being one of those kind of people, which we all have. I'm sure if you're on Facebook and LinkedIn where you get cold pitched or cold DM'd, by people saying that they can promise you X, Y, Z, heaven and earth, if you invest $500 with them or whatever their price is, right? The stuff that I'm talking about here works, guys. And this is for real legitimate coaches who you've hit that 20K a month ceiling. You want to go beyond. You're looking for somebody who can guide you, who's guided others, who has the experience. This challenge training is for you. So get yourself onto the challenge, guys. Remember, there's 2 tickets. Just go to www.moreleads.live. That's the best place to go to get your ticket. And what I'll do, I'll just drop the comment in onto the platform. So if you're watching this right now, you should see the link there. Just go there, guys, click on the link, get yourself a ticket, and I look forward to supporting you. On that note, guys, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you're watching this, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.